Hey everyone, you guys hear me? Am I late? It should be like 7 o'clock. Can you guys hear me on the audio? No? Let's see. Oops, there we go. All right, now can you hear me? I hope. You guys hear me? Okay, cool. Hello, hi everybody. You want to jump into the Charlie Kirk thing really quick? You want to go in the deep end of the poll, or do we want to wade into that? Why not? Let's do it. Listen, Charlie Kirk was one thing. Charlie Kirk wanted to maintain the white patriarchy, okay? He wanted women to be in their place, to submit to their husbands. He demonized black people. He said that black people were taking the jobs of white people. He demonized immigrants. He was not a hero. He was not a Christian. He was not a good person. And who he voted for? An adjudicated rapist, a convicted felon, a guy who caused an insurrection, sat on his ass for 3 hours, stole top secret documents, insulted disabled people. Now, if this is your version of Christianity, you might want to go do some self-reflection. So why there's this outrage over this one guy is because people need to be the victim of something. Pulling out the white victim card, it's a bunch of bullshit, right? They did the same thing with Lincoln Riley. What happened to both of them was horrible. But why did they pick out Lincoln Riley? Because it was a brown person, right? Did you see anybody on the right talk about, oh my gosh, Ahmaud Arbery, this is horrible. I can't believe this is happening right here. No, not a damn thing. These people that supported Charlie Kirk watched January 6th while officers were beaten. You know what they said? Yeah, that's my team. I don't care. Now, oh my gosh, there's political violence. I can't believe this is happening. What did you hear from Governor Cox in Utah? Right? I was praying for 36 hours that it was either somebody not from Utah or it was an immigrant. He was literally praying to Jesus that this was a brown person so he can use the race card. What a piece of shit. Because that's what this is all about. If you're white and you're a rapist and a felon, you get to be president. But if you've been here for 40 or 50 years, never committed a crime, somehow we're going to demonize you. We're going to break your windows and zip tie you and your family and ship you off to a concentration camp. But if you cause an insurrection, hey, nothing to see here. Nobody's perfect. It's just disgusting. It goes back to what I said. And it's enforced by what his wife said, and it's enforced by what J.D. Vance says today. They're going to use him as some kind of a Christian martyr. They're not Christians in any way, shape, or form. They're Pharisees. And if you go back 2,000 years, what do you see? This, hold on, I got to grab a hat. My eyeballs are a little weird. This is for historical context. The Sanhedrin didn't like what this Jesus guy was saying, right? You know what? You're not doing what we told you to do. You're not believing what he said. So what did they do? They murdered Jesus, right? They justified violence just because he didn't agree with them. January 6th, what happened? They justified violence because they didn't like the results of an election. Now what do you hear? Oh, that's awesome, Serena. This is what they do, people. They think that this is a Christian country. This country was founded on stealing black people while they died on boats coming over here. It was designed to benefit white man. The founding fathers owned black people. We put black peoples in trees, hung them from trees, fed them to alligators, took out their babies, forced them to build our White House, pick our cotton, raise our kids. That's a great Christian nation, isn't it? Praise Jesus, right? Now they want to take out the history of the Smithsonian. They literally want to whitewash the entire country. And this all goes back to what I've been mentioning. This is the lost cause. This country did a horrible, horrible, horrible thing by having no consequences for the Confederacy. They got their asses kicked, And instead of dealing with it, they said, oh no, we're patriots. We're heroes. We fought for states' rights. Right? We never dealt with it. And that's what happened. We pulled off the top of the roots of the weed and we left the roots and it sprouted up. This is the modern day Confederacy. And they put the Klan leader back in the White House. They couldn't stomach a black man in the White House instead of picking their cotton, so they lost their shit. Right? And they went back to what they know, the plantation owner. LBJ said, and I'll paraphrase, this country will vote for the most morally bankrupt, bumbling asshat of a white man that's literally stealing your wallet over the most qualified black woman. And that's exactly what happened last year in 2016. There's no morality. There's no decency. There's no integrity. There's no honesty. There is, if you're not a straight white person, it doesn't matter. We're going to threaten you. We're going to do this. We're going to storm the Capitol. That's exactly what J.D. Vance did today. It was like a statement from like Nazi Germany or Stalin or Benito Mussolini. They're going to go after all their political opponents. Yes, they're not Christians. And Judgment Day is not going to be good for them. What's really sad is that there are a lot of people that are actually people of faith. And I'm not judging if you want to worship a grasshopper, be an atheist. I don't care. Ironically, I know atheists that are more Christ-like than these people wearing red hats. They worship an antichrist, a false god, a golden calf. That's what he is. If Jesus ran against Donald Trump, you think they would pick Jesus? Hell no. He's the wrong demographic. We want the white man. You think if he runs for a third term, they won't vote for him? Of course they will. Because they don't care about morality. They're scared that their version of white America is going away that scares the hell out of them. The Rock daughter even said, Charlie Kirk, if you want people positive. Charlie Kirk wasn't a good person, and I don't care. And it's funny that we've had between 40 and 47,000 people a year die from gun violence, over 500 mass shootings. 6-year-olds were dead from the Catholic Church. Did they get a processional? Did that person get the freedom of honor? Were they flown in Air Force too? Did they have a moment of silence? No. How about the senator in Minnesota? That dumbass in the White House, what did he say today? Oh, who is that? While he's eating paint chips because he's an idiot. I think his orange makeup is seeping into his what's left of his brain. He didn't even acknowledge her. Oh, nobody told me about her. A senator, an elected official in the state. Yeah, he didn't know about that. The guy literally like put her whole family in the hospital and her and her dog died. And this dumbass is like, I don't know anything about it. But a podcaster, you and I have to foot the bill for a podcaster to be put on an airplane. Yeah. Because he's the right demographic. Did you see Fox News talking about, like again, George Floyd? No, that was a white cop. The majority of crimes in this country, 98 to 99%, are men. The vast majority are white men. It looks like we have a mental health problem with white men. Look at cops. The majority of them are white men. Massive, massive domestic violence with white men. Why are they so angry? Because when you listen to people like Donald and Fox News and right-wing propaganda, they keep scaring them into thinking that their traditional family values, that their masculinity, their version of traditional family values is going away. And when you hear that, it means white America. It's the iconic photo of a white kid in a white ice cream shop with a white cop. That is their version of traditional family values. Yeah, surely. I'm not, again, what happened to him was horrible. But his life doesn't have more meaning than the 6-year-olds at the Catholic Church or George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or Amber Thurman. And that's the problem. They cherry pick their outrage. They pick Charlie Kirk and they pick that lady because they need to be the victim. And I saw a lady on Facebook said, why is your outrage here? She goes, because I knew Charlie Kirk. I felt close to him. See, that's the problem. These people that claim to be Christians, because they're not, they're Pharisees, they're religious hypocrites. They only give a damn about any issue or any person only if they know him. Go back and look at my videos on YouTube and go see how angry I am about the school shooting in the Catholic Church. I was yelling and I was livid. Nobody that voted for Trump or Charlie Kirk did a damn thing even close to that. Or Ahmaud Arbery or George Floyd. Nothing, not a damn thing. But the white man that they know affected him, and they lose their minds. And what happened in the last election? They didn't give a damn about being a rapist, a felon. They didn't care about the officers that were injured. They didn't care about E. Jean Carroll or the women that are survivors of sexual assaults. They don't care about the girls at Epstein Island that have traumatic. They didn't give a damn about any of them. Or women in this country that now have over 50% mortality rate. They didn't give two shits about them because it didn't affect them. And when that lady said that in the comments, well, I knew him because I watched his podcast. That's the problem. They're selfish. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Everybody here, you're my neighbors. The 6-year-olds at the Catholic Church are my neighbors. Charlie Kirk was my neighbor. I don't want him to be my neighbor, but he's my neighbor, right? I care about him, but I'm not going to value his life and yell and scream and blood coming out when you say that a black person's not qualified to be a pilot, when you vote for a man who sexually abuses women. I'm not going to give you empathy. That's what they want. They want you to have some kind of feeling and feel the same way they do. You know why they're like this? I'll tell you why. They got a fraction of an inch of what it's like to be black in this country. When Charlie Kirk says that the cost of doing business is for basically people to be unalived, they thought it would be some other people. They never thought it would be him or somebody that wears a red hat. They thought it would be others. Gay people, trans people, non-white people. That's exactly what they thought. And then that pile of shit came on their front porch. Paul fired for his wife. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. But that's what it was. They finally got some kind of semblance of what they've been doing to other people. I don't know what Honeybits is saying. I'm sorry. Out of the abundance of them. Yeah. Again, let's talk about the judgment because they'll judge gay. They were dying to have a trans person, right? They were salivating, but they were fine with the man that's a convicted felon in the White House. Somehow that's okay. Somehow white people beating up cops is okay. Somehow chasing down Ahmaud Arbery if they're white is okay. But if it's a trans person, less than 1%, somehow all of a sudden we can deal with it, right? What happened to Lincoln Riley? What do? They put her face on everything. They passed a bill with her name on it. I don't see a George Floyd Act. Where was the police reform bill with George Floyd on there? Nowhere to be found. I wonder why that was. Maybe it's because he's not the right demographic. Yes, and when that happened, I got a call. A text from a friend that their kids went to that high school within, I think they're like 2 years removed. It didn't even make the news. Now, I don't know what happened. There was 5 kids and 1 teacher from what I heard, and 3 were in the hospital at Evergreen. It's not called mental health violence. It's called gun violence. I'm going to make a video in the next couple of days about, it was up in Washington. There was a 13-year-old that made a bunch of threats online, and somebody caught him and reported it, thank God. But they went to the house, and what did they find? Guns on the wall, guns behind the, I think it was behind a cabinet, guns on top of the bed. They were literally everywhere. Pass gun safety, right? Hey, you have to lock your guns up. If you don't lock your guns up and they're used in a crime, you get a 10-year felony conviction. That's what you do. If it saves one mass shooting, isn't it worth it? The party that's pro-life won't even make it a requirement to lock up a firearm. That's how pitifully pathetic they are. Think about this, a piece of metal, right? If it hurts everybody else, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. But if that piece of metal somehow affects somebody in my family, somebody I know, a friend, a coworker, all of a sudden I'm upset. It's the lack of empathy that I have the hardest time with. E. Jean Carroll. Do you think if E. Jean Carroll was your mom or your sister, would you still have voted for the guy in president? No. But because it happened to somebody else, they don't care. I have people in my family that I don't talk to anymore. I mean, how does that go, right? honey, I'm not sure what you're saying there, but you're getting banned. Are you being silly? Honey bits, I don't have, we're here just to have a conversation, not to own the libs, or I don't know what's going on there. Because they don't care, Belchin. They don't care about lives. White evangelicals or Pharisees, white supremacists, care about one thing: maintaining the white male patriarchy. And the women that buy into this, they are told since they're little, and they see it from their mom and their sisters and their aunts and their grandmas, that they're supposed to be submissive to their husbands. They are not viewed as equal in their relationships. Once the baby's born, look at Adriana Smith. They kept her corpse alive for 2 months, and then they pulled the baby out. Guess how many medical bills that family is going to have? Probably hundreds of thousands. Do they care? No. Do they care if that baby has mental health issues? No. They disbanded the Department of Education. Do they care if that baby grows up and is shot in a school? No. Do they care if that kid has affordable housing? No. Do they care if it has a living wage? No. They don't give a shit about life. It's about control. Forced birth is about control. Because if it was about pro-life, why would we have the states that banned abortion at a 50% plus mortality rate? It's gone up by over 50%. In states that have health care, it's decreased by 20%. A 70-point swing. Who's pro-life? It's a cult. It is. It's an absolute cult. There's no. I did an interview with Daniela, the knitting cult lady. It's 100% a cult. It's not even a question. They will excuse anything, right? Look, they would vote for Jeffrey Epstein. You know what they'll say? You know what? Yeah, what he did to those little girls was bad, but you know what? Nobody's perfect. I don't vote for the person. I vote for the policies. I really like his plan on no tax on tips. Hey, what Hitler did, yeah, I didn't agree with it. It was bad. You know, hey, no one's perfect, but I don't vote for the person. But you know what? He's going to lower my gas prices, so I have to vote for myself. How about Benito Mussolini? Yeah, you know, but he's not going to tax overtime. Yeah, he invaded Ethiopia and murdered a bunch of innocent women, but you know what? Hey, no one's perfect. Who am I to judge? Cool. Vote for Kamala Harris. Oh, no, not the black woman. Can't do that. It's funny how that argument only seems to go towards one demographic and only your side. But when it's a Democrat, somehow that doesn't apply. Funny how that works, huh? Okay, honey, you're not being... Hold on here. I'm going to get rid of honey. Honey's being ridiculous. Goodbye, honey. I don't have time for silliness. Christian fundamentals worth listening to. Levings talks about... I will. Oh, what did Tina say? Sorry, I missed what Tina said. Charlie Kirk said he didn't believe in empathy. He doesn't. Listen, Charlie was not a person of faith. Evangelicals in this country, these Pharisees, have weaponized a book, okay, and a cross in a symbol. And they have used it to push their white supremacist male patriarchy since the beginning. Let's just look really quick, and not to recap this, but it's important. Let's look at this Christian country, okay? First, we stole black people on boats. Many of them died on the trip over here, okay? Then we kept them against their will just because they look black, okay? Then, when they didn't do what we say, we beat them, we whipped them, we put them in vats of hot sugar. And when that wasn't good enough, we put them in trees, and then we had Sunday service and watched them there. Absolutely vile and disgusting human beings. And then the cops and the pastors were the members of the KKK, right? Black people couldn't even vote until 60, 70 years ago? And then in the 1860s, the Supreme Court decided that black people weren't citizens, even though they were 4 generations in. 100 years later, they still weren't considered citizens, even though they were born here, just because of the color of the skin. Then in the 30s and 40s, Asians were in internment camps. Women couldn't even vote until the 1920s. Women couldn't have credit until the 60s. No fault divorce until the 80s. Sounds like a great Christian nation. Oh, yes, by the way, the Native Americans, right? We had to treat them like garbage too, because why not? They were the wrong demographic. So then you have the Trail of Tears. 100,000, primarily Cherokee tribes, out of the 5 tribes, made over 300 agreements with them. Kicked them off their land, We said, we want you to walk 1,200, think about that, 1,200 miles. Almost between 12 and 16,000 of them died. Dysentery, starvation, disease, horrible ways to die. But you know what white people did? This is the westward expansion. And we put a white guy on a horse with a cowboy hat and a rope, an American flag, America, America. And of course, we got to put a couple guns because nothing's American like guns. America, America. And we glorified it. And we tell ourselves, we're the greatest. No, we're not. No, we're not at all. We're not even the greatest country in North America. We lead the world in gun violence, racism, because we've perfected that, military spending, and incarcerations. Not quality of life, not affordable housing, not health care, nothing that's important. Those four things. It's really sad. Oh, Anna, yeah. What we did to the native, I actually have every week I'm trying to talk about history, actual history, not whitewash history. And the next one is the Trail of Tears. Yeah, the way that we treated Native Americans was pathetic. It was pitiful. It was atrocious. Just as bad as black people. It was horrible. And then we went to Hawaii and we forced King Kamehameha to take his land. That's all we've done as white people is take. And now, and the Mexicans too, the Mexican War, the land from Mexico up to about Utah. All we've done is take. And now we have people that they think their privilege is going away because a black man sat in the White House, which, by the way, was built by black people, along with Georgetown, along with the Capitol, and many other infrastructures in this country. 50,000 inventions that they built. White people took credit for it because we have to be the greatest. Hell, the Matrix was written by a black person and someone else took credit for it. They built computer monitors, the cell phone, many inventions. Yeah, and the problem is that we indoctrinate our children. We're raised in American flag diapers, right? We worship a flag, and when we're at school, we're told to put our hands to it and pray to it and worship it and glorify it and basically, rub magic pixie dust on it and say, we're the greatest. Don't you dare question it. You're the best. You hear me? Out of all God's creations, this flag is it. And then as we get older, we eat our Freedom Wheaties. We feed our pet bald eagle before we leave. And then we polish the Constitution on our truck, 800 flags on our car, and we listen to God Bless America. And of course, we have to have a couple of guns in the back because nothing says I'm American like having guns. Yeehaw! That's nationalism. That is not patriotism. Patriotism is giving a damn about the people that flag represents. And they don't do that. They care. They will fight for nationalism, not for the people in the country. That's why they're not true patriots. That's what's sad. They can't imagine a world where that flag that they view as a symbol of freedom was a symbol of oppression for anybody that doesn't look like me. That maybe that flag, that their great-grandpa was in somebody's will and passed on as a piece of property. That's the problem with this country. We have too many young white guys with toxic masculinity that have the emotional maturity of a 7th grader that just can't imagine that they're not some alpha male. And when women are finally standing up for themselves and leaving them because they don't want to be controlled, they want to be equal, they don't know what to do and they lose their minds. The vast majority, 98% of violent crimes for guns is men. Men, not women. Every war in the history of mankind has been a man. Most of the people on January 6th were men. But yeah, women are too emotional. Sure. Yeah, okay. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's the problem is because they don't have emotions like empathy and compassion. Maybe when you view yourself as a hammer and everything else is a nail, maybe that's not the best solution for everything. Joe Biden was good at that. I didn't agree with him on everything. But I'll tell you what, he was a compassionate person. He had empathy. So did John McCain. So did Obama. I wasn't a big fan of Mitt Romney, but he was a good guy. Tina said, my father was Mexican, my mother was white. It's amazing people say about Mexicans when they don't. Yeah, Tina, about 2 months ago, I was in Las Vegas, and I was at a protest for the ICE raids. And I got to tell you there, it was funny because I was there, and I had people ask me, are you like, why are you here? I'm like, well, I'm here for the protest. Like I'm here to protest against ICE. They were the happiest, kindest, nicest people. The exact opposite of what MAGA stood for. The exact opposite. They were up in their trucks, standing up, waving their Mexican flags, passing out their chicle. The little girls were in their quinceañera dresses, and then I saw the flag, and I stopped, and it was half American and half Mexican. And I thought about it for a second, and I said, you know what? That's what America is. They can both love this country and be proud of their heritage. That's what America's supposed to be. And I knew when I thought about that, there's going to be a lot of white MAGA, these little wannabe alpha males. Again, they go back to nationalism, that they would be offended by that. Well, that's too bad. If you don't like it, deport your ass back to England, because I don't want you here. This isn't your country. This is everyone's country. And I realized that day that I don't even know if they were immigrants. They were Latino and Hispanic. I don't give a damn. They're good people. That's all I care about. But I'll tell you what, they love this country more than MAGA does. Because they love America for what it is. MAGA loves America for what they want it to be. MAGA is proud of being white, maintaining the white male patriarchy. My parents asked me why I don't watch Fox News. Tell them because it's the same reason you don't drink out of a toilet. Tell me what they say. Yeah, Fox News is a bunch of crap. And I'm going to make a video about Guttenberg tomorrow. I've had enough of that tool and his disgusting comments about Senator Hortman. Yeah, listen, I voted for John McCain, and then I voted for Obama. Obama's my favorite president. Perfect? No. No one's perfect. I loved Obama. He was great. Now, he should have codified Roe versus Wade. I'm going to hold his feet to the fire on that. The Democrats crapped the bed. And if they would have done it when they had the supermajority, we wouldn't be in this mess with women's rights. They have to own it, but he was still a good president. Right. The problem with MAGA is they only want people to be white. That's just that's the sad part. Again, it doesn't matter. Look, it doesn't matter who wins the White House, people. And I'm trying to say this, and I'm trying to. It doesn't matter if the Democrats or Republicans win. Okay, let's play this out. They win. Okay, what happens? Citizens United still there. There's still dark money. There's still AIPAC, and every Democrat that is not speaking out against the atrocities in Gaza, they should all be fired and go screw off, because they're whoring themselves out for humanity. And that's disgusting, and it's morally reprehensible. Both sides. Women still don't have rights. Minimum wages are going to be increased. So what if the Democrats win? Then you're another 2 years into them getting into stupid culture wars with the Klan leader in the White House. Who benefits from that? Nobody. Nobody benefits. We all get screwed. And I'm not a Democrat or Republican. The only answer is something that America is not willing to do, and that's to shut the whole country down. But Americans are selfish. They're unwilling to be uncomfortable. Let me rephrase that. Just think about this. Let's say 15 to 20 million Americans said, we're going to stop working. We're going to stop paying federal taxes. If you don't like it, screw off. We're not going to go to school as teachers. We're not going to go to UPS. We're not going to truck drive. We're not going to be farmers. We're going to shut the whole goddamn country down until the system works for itself. You reverse Citizens United. You increase minimum wage. You put term limits on the Congress and the Senate. And you have to put something in there to be able to recall an elected official like the Senate and the Congress by a 2/3 vote. Because right now, a lot of people would be recalled. And we have no recourse as Americans, and that's not okay. It's not an American dream, though. I actually don't even believe America was a dream. I think it was The Matrix. We've all seen The Matrix. Okay? This is how I see America. Morpheus is talking to Neo. You're correct, Nomad. We're heading that direction. We're raised in the Matrix, okay? And I want you to think about this metaphor as an American to see the parallels, right? You grow up, you're in the Matrix, and you have this job and 2.3 children and 1 dog and 1 cat and a fish tank, and everything's great. You go on vacation for 3 weeks a year, and then you're unplugged from the Matrix, okay? And then you actually see the Matrix for what it is. You're like, whoa, this is the real world. This isn't the Matrix. Yeah, it's not as good as the Matrix, but it's the reality of where we are as a country, right? That's being woke. And I say that as, hey, America's not great. America's not great for everybody. It doesn't treat everybody equal. It is a white supremacist country. That's being woke. But what you saw in the Matrix was one guy, Cyrus, go to Agent Smith, and he said, I don't want to be woke. I know that the Matrix is a lie. But you know what? Ignorance is bliss. Right? He didn't care. He just didn't want to be woke. He didn't want to know that this is a racist country. So he was willing to sacrifice his friends' lives to go back into the Matrix to serve himself. That's where we are. I can't explain it better than that. At the same time, Morpheus is talking to Neo about what the Matrix is. And what did he say? It's about control, right? The Matrix is operated off of human energy, right? To take people into this. And he holds up a Duracell battery. Remember that? But in America, it's $1. So you have the woke part where you have to realize and wake up that this is a racist country. And at the same time, you have the Matrix controlling you, telling you that America's great, while they're doing nothing but sucking you and I dry, all of us, for money. We're slave labor to the corporations. And they're tied together. Go look at the documentary on Netflix, the last episode. There was places after Hurricane Katrina that were primarily, what do you call, like black neighborhoods or black. There was a name for them, and I'm sorry I don't know what it's called. Anyway, after Katrina, what they did was they doubled and tripled the rent. And what happened to those places? Almost overnight, they went from, I think it was, but there was a name for it, like Cremel or Creme or something like that. Parishes, yes. What happened? It was primarily black. They raised the prices because they weren't paying black people enough wages. And guess what? Now it's almost all white. And almost all of the parishes that didn't get flooded, you'll never guess what demographics those were. That's right. They were white. Treme, there you go. And that's what they did. Is it called, I believe the phrase is gentrification. If I'm misusing that word incorrectly, correct me. But that's what we've done in this history, right? And you go back and look at places like the Tulsa Massacre, Black Wall Street. Oh no, the black people are going to be equal as white people. Let's burn it down. And every time somebody gets a little step forward, we find a way to shit on them and make it harder. Put in hurdles and barbed wires, and we red light housing. It's disgusting. And there's a lot of white people that are still ignorant. They think just because they're poor that they don't have white privilege. You ever been pulled over by a cop for being white? You ever have somebody walk on the other side of the street when they saw you coming by? You ever have your house appraised at a lower price? You ever been, anybody call you the N-word? Yeah, just because you're poor doesn't mean that you don't have white privilege. It means that you're treated differently. You're looked at differently. You ever not get a job because of your name? I've seen people that got their house appraised and they took out all pictures of their black family for a month. They put white pictures in there. They moved across the street. They came back and it got appraised at like $80,000 more. That happens today. So for people to say that doesn't happen, it's a bunch of horse shit. They got their heads up their asses. They just don't want to admit it. Yep, and they get followed around the store. And you got people like Charlie Kirk, right? Oh, the black people are taking the white jobs. Wow. Tell me you're a racist without telling me you're racist. You're right, Jones. America has never been great for everybody. And until more people that look like me say that, this isn't going to get fixed. because this is an American problem. This isn't a black problem. That's what happened in the civil rights. Too many people that look like me sat behind their privilege, sat on their asses and said, oh, that's their problem. I'll never be affected. So they just let it happen. And I'll tell you right now, I unfitted 3 people this week. A bunch of white ladies, right? Oh, did you see the traffic at the middle school? Oh, the whores. Oh, Cindy. Oh, you're doing the right thing by speaking out. Unfriend. I ain't got time for stupid people anymore. I'm way past this. Way past it. You're either... Hold on, I'll show you. Right here. It's my dude right here. That's the OG right there. The legend. There comes a time when silence is betrayal. There's no this side of the fence. You're either on this side or you're on the other side. There's no more straddling the fences. Anybody that's still hiding behind their privilege is part of the damn problem. Just like George Floyd, when it happened, Officer Sitnick, or you're watching it happen. Pick a side. No more straddling the fences. I've had enough of it. I ain't going to play around. And what we're seeing now with this whole Charlie Kirk thing, what we're finding out is now we're seeing people that were actually affected taking off their white hoods. The people that were quiet, that we thought were good people, they weren't. We're realizing they weren't good people because those people voted for an adjudicated rapist. They voted for a felon. They voted for January 6th. They voted for women's rights to be stripped away. They voted for insulting disabled people. They voted for a guy that went on Epstein Island, that went into teenage girls' locker rooms. Those people are not good people. You're not. By your fruits shall you be judged. Judge thy neighbor fairly. By the same measure you judge, lest you be judged. They want to judge everybody that doesn't fit into their bigoted area, right? Like marriages between one man and one woman. Really? This guy's on his 3rd marriage and cheats on her with a porn star. I don't see evangelicals pulling out the Bible and the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. I don't see anybody quoting that. I wonder why. Because of abortion and gay people. That's it. Because they're hypocrites. Yeah, no, man. You know, the other thing is, the sad reality is we have a lot of stupid people live in this country. A lot of dumb people. Just dumb. They're not very bright. Not about you guys, but I had friends this week. I had a cousin that comments on nothing. Birthdays, anniversaries, fishing, nothing. But they came out like cockroaches to defend the guy that says, if you're black, how do I know that you're a qualified pilot? That said abortion is similar to Nazi Germany. They'll defend that. Yeah, that they'll defend, but not all the horrible things that this guy in the White House is saying, not this fascist. We found out who our friends are. Now we know why he got 77 million votes. It was the quiet people, but you know why they were quiet? Because I think it's important. They know that what they voted for was a pile of horse shit. If they were proud of their vote, they would have said it. How many Vice President Harris supporters said, I don't talk about politics? None. 0. Everyone that says I don't talk about it, I tell you exactly who they voted for. Go ask them where the red hat is. Yeah, Kimberly, I'm sorry about that. Well, Bobby, the one good thing that came out of this, in my opinion, and trust me, God knows there's not a lot of good. And we finally have we have an opportunity to address the original sin of this country, which is white supremacy. I have my blind job. Good for you, Kimberly. We have a chance to address it, but we can't make the same mistake and have the lost cause go unchallenged again. Now, I call both sides out. The Democrats are absolutely pathetic. Where are they at? Where are the Democrats? I don't know. I am not. Oh, thank you, Yaresh. Justice is to rectify the past. People are innocent. But Brucka, here's the thing. Until we address the original sin, look, The guy in the White House, he's not the problem. Let me explain why. I was at a beach on an annual vacation, and I looked at a pier. You know, one of those piers where you walk out and you're in the middle of the ocean? That pier does not stand by itself. There are hundreds of pylons at different angles, right? That's what's happening. When you look at Benito Mussolini, Joseph Stalin, and Hitler, those people didn't come to power in a vacuum. They had people that supported them. This guy is being supported by a bunch of people that are letting it happen. They are. And unfortunately, the reality is both parties are allowing this to happen. I know you don't want to hear that. You have one party that's setting the house on fire, and you have the other party that's watching it happen. And metaphorically, you have Derek Chauvin and the three officers that stood by and watched it happen. Who's more complicit? Honestly, the Democrats all voted for Marco Rubio. That was a great choice. 10 voted for the CR. Great job, Schumer. Great job. 127 voted against impeachment because it wasn't politically beneficial. Oh, I'm sorry about your politics. 10 Democrats voted to censure Al Green, the only guy that had the balls to stand up. Every Democrat should have stood up and done exactly what he did every 5 minutes, and they didn't do it. And then when they had a chance to put AOC in there, in that seat, they picked a 70-year-old crusty white guy with throat cancer. Great job. Great job, Democrats. Fighting so hard here. I mean, then you had David Hogg, who wants to bring in younger, more progressive candidates. And I believe most people in the Democratic Party, I think most people who are Mondavi are. They want a Democrat socialist. Capitalism, at its purest form, is not good. It ends in oligarchy. Unchecked power ends badly. There is a combination of capitalism and socialism that is actually good, in my opinion. Didn't like everything Karl Marx said, but there were parts of socialism that are good and necessary for economy, especially when you have a lot of poor people. Unfortunately, I am finding out that Kirk was moderate. Hearing about this other group is a little horrifying. I can't believe he was moderate. That's a little frightening. Yes, Nancy Pelosi, I can't stomach her. I wish they would send her to Jurassic Park along with Schumer, along with Grassley. Just get the hell out of my life. Put them in a dinosaur park. Just go away. But they won't. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are unlikable because they suck. They're Tibu versions of congressmen. They have no fight. They are an absolute and utter failure. Jasmine Crockett's outstanding. The guy in Texas is outstanding. The Baptist guy, he's incredible. Frost is outstanding. AOC, obviously. I love that Kenyatta kid. He's got a lot of spunk in him too. But there's not enough of them. Yeah, Tallarico. Yes, that's it. Chuck Schumer he's a jackass. Let's just be real. He's an absolute clown. Yeah, I know. I heard that 300 million people. We have 340 million people in this donkey eating paint chips. But this is the same guy that talks about Hannibal Lecter and eating dogs and cats. Right? I mean, think about this. They went to the voting booth. And they're like, who do I vote for? Vice President Harris, who's not a felon, who doesn't cheat on her husband, who didn't cause an insurrection, who actually has a plan, who wants to give people universal health care and tax the rich, raise minimum wage, help people with their student loans, and help small businesses and give you child tax credits. Or this bumbling jackass that eats paint chips. He has concepts of plans. He's a felon. He's an adjudicated rapist. Did unspeakable things at Epstein Island. Insulted disabled people. Caused an insurrection. And moves hurricanes with a Sharpie and looks at the sun without glasses because he's an idiot. I don't know. Oh, this is hard. Oh, God. Oh, this is tough. What do you think, God? Vote for the adjudicated rapist? Okay. Well, God told me to vote for him, so, what am I going to do? Just can't vote for the black woman, right? I mean, think about that. We're not dealing with very smart people here. And 77 million people said, yep. Thank you, Marty. Yeah, Schumer's a joke. He is. Liz Cheney. I don't necessarily disagree with you, Quesadilla, but this is why too many Democrats are still playing politics. They're still trying to find common ground with the right. That time is over. I don't disagree. I think going with Liz Cheney was a complete mistake. Let me preface this. Joe Biden crapped the bed by giving her 103 days. That is 100% on Joe Biden. He lied. He said that he would be a one-term president. That's on him. That is not on her. 107. I'm sorry. I thought it was 103. My apology. At the same time, she didn't have to take it. She did. She brought nobody up from Palestine to speak. Whether you like it or not, she ignored it. What's happening over there is a travesty. So, reparations, yes, I just don't know if that's monetary or by land or assets. I just don't know what that looks like, Brutica. I have to really think about that. Yeah, they are weird. I mean, they are. But, and there's not a people on the left that even say this, and I think I know why, but I'm not sure. What's happening in Gaza is it is ethnic cleansing, okay? Benjamin Netanyahu should be buried under the prison and left to rot. And then him and Jeffrey Epstein can spend eternity yucking it up one day. What they're doing over there is unforgivable. It is nothing short of genocide. Now, why a Democrat can't just say that is absolutely astonishing. Republicans and Democrats. Why are MAGA so angry? Because they don't know how to be happy. They just don't. There is a German word called Schadenfreude. It means you enjoy the suffering of others. People with low self-esteem have a higher level of Schadenfreude. They want to own the libs. You lost the lib. Haha, you don't have the right to do this lib, right? So when you look at people, they're here. If they don't know how to be happy and they're up here, if they don't know how to be happy, they want to pull you down. Their joy is through the suffering of others. I always tell the Batman story about the Joker, and if you've heard this, I apologize. When they were trying to figure out what the Joker wants, it's like, what does MAGA want? Is it fame? Is it fortune? Is it money? Is it women? What is it, right? They couldn't figure it out. So Alfred tells a story of this caravan that's going through the forest, okay? And these kids come out and they murder everybody, steal the jewels. 6 months come by. They never come up for sale on the black market. One day, Alfred's walking through the forest and he comes across this village. And they're right there in the garbage can. And a kid's playing with one of them, the size of a tangerine, worth millions of dollars. And Bruce Wayne is befuddled. Well, I don't understand. These were worth so much money. Why didn't he do anything? Master Wayne, it was good sport. Some people don't have a reason. Master Wayne, some people just want to watch the world burn. And as hard as it is to hear for MAGA, they don't know how to be happy, so they want other people to suffer so they feel some semblance of Schadenfreude. Their version of happiness is through the suffering of other people. It's not happiness, but that's how they perceive it. Nihilism, yes. Perfect word, thank you. They don't. MAGA would rather burn Rome to the ground than have a black woman be president. You can quote me on that. That is a fact. There's a reason that in 249 years, 50% of our country made of women and not one's been president. You're going to tell me in 250 years, hundreds of millions, billions of women, not one's been qualified? It's always a man. That's part of the problem. And Harris was a double whammy for them. She wasn't just a woman, she was a black woman. In this country, stomached a black man, but it was just too much for their brains and they got triggered. I would rather have content. Yeah. Yeah, John Brown. What we did to the Native Americans was despicable. We made all these agreements, and then Andrew Jackson said, "No, we're not going to do that. Go ahead, Supreme Court, enforce it." The way that we treated them was disgusting. especially the Cherokees. That's not true. You can't just undo history, man. Right. And that's what you see, right? When you go to a rally, what do you see from the MAGA, right? Combat boots, military fatigue. They're angry. Veins are bulging. They're yelling. They are not emotionally stable creatures. Most of them matured at about the 7th grade, right? They were the stud. They had girlfriends. Maybe their dad didn't love them. Maybe their mom didn't breastfeed them too long. Maybe they were picked on. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons, right? And then from there, it was all downhill. And there's a sick form of masculinity in this country. It's not masculinity. It's toxic. It's devoid of basic human emotions, compassion, empathy, or kindness. Tell me in the MAGA movement, one person, right, that calls themselves a Christian that has talked about compassion or forgiveness or empathy or loving the neighbor. I hate the liberals. I hate Taylor Swift. He's a son of a bitch. This is all you hear. All you hear from them. Everything is hell, fire, and brimstone, and you're going to hell. There's no compassion. They live in the Old Testament. You're bad, you're bad, you're bad, but if you're a white man, you get a pass because no one's perfect, and who am I to judge? Yeah, Patterson, it has to be exhausting for them to be the victim all the time. Mike Huckabee is another grifter, correct. Have you seen his cabinet? Have you seen the people in his administration? It's like 50 Shades of White. Let's be real. His first administration, Ben Carson, urban housing. Second administration, the only black person, urban housing. Then he just brought on another, I don't know who it was. I think it was a black man. Now he's the assistant director for urban housing. Okay. He wouldn't even rent to Ben Carson 30 years ago in New York City. But urban housing. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. Imagine going to church on a Sunday, right, to praise Jesus with your Bible after eating your Freedom Wheaties and feeding your pet bald eagle, and parking in a church parking lot to praise Jesus with a Joe in the Ho flag and an F Joe Biden bumper sticker. This is their version of Christianity. I mean, and then you go home and you listen to this guy say, I hate Taylor Swift. Oh, yes, own the libs. Woohoo! Yeah. They don't even understand the hypocrisy. They don't care. Yeah, Hulk Hogan was not a good person either from the comments that I read, yes. And it's funny how they had this spiritual awakening. I think they were mistaking it for heartburn. Where is your spiritual awakening after George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery or after the atrocities with Adriana Smith or January 6th or Uvalde or Sandy Hook or Parkland or the school shooting at the Catholic Church? Where was this spiritual awakening? Nowhere. Almost 45,000 people die every year. Not one spiritual awakening. Nope. Don't hear God. But this one guy, oh my God, all of a sudden God's talking to me. We're taking phone calls, emails, text messages. God all of a sudden has spoken to me. It's crazy. It's absolute Looney Tunes. What did Mario say? Or Gaza. Yeah, what's happening in Gaza? I checked last week, there's about 500,000 people that are starving to death. Good night, Siren. By the end of September, they're estimating about 629,000 people that are going to be starving. Over 64,000 people have died. And out of those, I believe it was 14 or 16,000 are children. Hundreds of reporters, innocent people, hospital workers. And there's about 14,000 people that are still missing, presumed to be dead. It's horrible. It's horrible, 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 horrible that the world is watching this happen. Absolutely gut-wrenching. Gut-wrenching. Again, for the MAGA movement, the pro-life, praise Jesus people, where is your spiritual awakening about Gaza? 60,000 people. Nothing. 47,000 people are here shot. That's 100,000 people. No spiritual awakening, but this one guy in Utah, all of a sudden God's talking to you. That makes no sense. Right. And the party that's pro-life is literally protecting the Epstein files because the guy in the White House did unspeakable things to little girls as an underage. The party of family values my ass. Thank you, Timothy. Yeah, I don't really get to the AI video thing. Yeah, I've heard about the stuff in Congo. I haven't heard a lot about it, to be honest with you. What's happening? Yeah, I thought it was going to end the war in 24 hours. We're in September. That was 9 months ago. But hey, I saw on Blue Sky that when they were doing a prayer vigil for Charlie, he was golfing. But I don't know, is that correct? Was he golfing? I don't know. I'm asking. There might be a little bit of a delay here. If there is, I apologize. I'm going to take off here in a few minutes. Yeah, I'm going to make a video about that. The cosplay president was asked about the Democratic senator, an elected official in Minnesota that was murdered. Her and her dog and her husband was shot. Thankfully, he made it. And he said, I hadn't heard about this. I'm not kidding. Well, if the governor would have asked me, I would have lowered their flags. But I don't do it all the time because if I had to lower the flags for every tragedy, I would never raise the flag again. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? That's a problem, right? That's horrible. He's even acknowledging how many tragedies there are. And he's like, well, I can only do it for the people that I like. The podcaster. Thank you, Kimberly. I'm trying. He actually, Mr. Higgins, he did the opposite. Historically, as a sign of respect, flags are at half-mast for a full month when a president passes away. But because of his fragile little ego, he told them to raise it because he didn't want the flag at half-mast when he became president. Because of his fragile ego. He needed to be some kind of wannabe alpha male. The guy with orange diapers and that wears makeup and listen issues because he's essentially a drag queen. Yeah, Jimmy Carter was an actual Christian. Most people that are Christians, and again, if you're not, I don't care. It's your life. Live it the way you want. Don't have to put God, Jesus, patriot, bald eagles, American flags. I don't have to quote. I don't even own a cross. I don't even. Why? It's a symbol. Just like the American flag is a symbol. If it doesn't find a way into your heart, what's the purpose of it? It's a symbol. Faith without works is dead. The problem is with MAGA, the extent of their faith is a gold piece of metal and a scripture that they memorized to demonize gay people or trans people or minorities. That's it. That's the extent of their faith. And they cosplay to be a Christian for 1 hour on Sunday. That is it. That's the extent of their whatever religious beliefs that they have. That's it. And then back to owning the libs. Yeah, Jimmy Carter was a great man. He was a good guy. I don't like Bill Clinton. That dude cheated on his wife while he was president. Screw him. I got no use for him. And what really bugs me is that Andrew Cuomo ran as a Democrat. He literally had to quit because he sexually harassed 11 women, quit his job because of this, did a piss poor job with COVID where people died in retirement homes. And then you bring in Bill Clinton, the guy who cheats on his wife while he's president, to endorse that piece of garbage. And then 400,000 Democratic voters pulled the lever for that ticket. What does that tell you about this country? Those are Democrats that allegedly are all about, I don't like what the president's doing, but I'm going to vote for it anyway because that's my guy. I like his name. That's disgusting. Yes, Yeshua is one of the names. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Yeshua is actually the name of God, not for Jesus. But I could be wrong. Make ethics. I just, I was a Republican until 16. I wasn't really engaged. I was kind of that because I grew up in a Baptist church. And I left within 30 days after he became president. I was a Democrat because I was very good on social issues. And then like 4 months ago, I felt like the Democrats did absolutely nothing for nobody. While everything's happening, they just stood around asking for money. I left. I'm just an independent right now. I don't like either political party. I don't think they serve the American people. Both parties suck. Now, there's really nobody in the Republican Party except for Adam Kinzinger that has any integrity. And there's only a handful in the Democratic Party that are doing anything. Oh, thank you for that. Caroline Levitt turned her gold cross. That's the extent of her religion, is that gold cross. It's a symbol. If her news grew every time she told a lie, man, my God, it would be like the state of Michigan. All right. Bernie Sanders is too old. Love Bernie. Yeah. I don't know what Charlie Kirk. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't a Christian. Let's be real. Just because you say the name of God and Jesus doesn't make you a person of faith. You can say whatever you want. I'm an apricot. I identify as an apricot. There we go. I'm a Christian. Cool, great. I'm the quarterback of the Niners. I can say anything I want. But if your fruits don't reflect that which you say, then none of it matters. Bernie got pushed out by the Democratic Party, and I really think that if Bernie was the front runner in 2016, I actually think that he would have won. I do. On the flip side, I also believe, and this is going to sound a little weird, if Barack Obama was a white man, I don't think we would have ever got Donald Trump in 2016. I really believe that. I think he moved Neil the other way because they got too triggered by a black man. Latter-day Saints and the cults that Tom Cruise is in. What's that thing? That thing is wicked crazy, man. It's that one where you have to like disown your family. They did a whole documentary about it, and I can't remember it now. Scientology, holy crap! Ooh, if you guys want a deep, dark hole, holy crap! Woo! There's a series about that. Holy God! You want to see something wild, man? You go watch that episode. That was what was he? It was her name from King of Queens, the actress. She was the host and another old white guy that used to be in Scientology. Leah Remini. It's not just Scientology. When you join, if your family doesn't follow you, you have to disown them because they're not worthy. They're literally like breaking up families because of this. You have to be all in. It's crazy. And then they send people around. If you speak out and they walk across the street, they take pictures of your house, they harass you, they talk to you. They're, mercy alive. It is. Watch the series with Leah Remini. Oh my God. Yes, Mike Rinder passed away, I heard. You people stand for nothing. I don't know what that means. Is that me? Yeah. Yeah, Scientology, the family from 19 kids and counting. Oh, yes, I heard about that. Yes, Putin is running. I don't know what Putin has on him. I don't know. I have a feeling Putin probably has the Epstein files, a copy of them. That's what I think. Or some kind of videos or some kind of evidence of him doing something. It could be. Whatever he has on him, it's really good. Yeah. So, all right, my friends, my hour is up. I got to go watch I watch one show on mainstream media, and that's Rachel Maddow, because in my opinion, I believe that she is the gold standard. I think she is the best. She covers the news like no other. So, all right, my friends. Rachel is, I think she's the gold standard. She's incredible. She really is. She provides facts. She asks questions, and if she's wrong, she stands corrected. And she's not a little clown. So, all right, my friends. All right, peace out. Bye-bye. Of course, my friends. I'm going to try to do this on Mondays and Wednesdays. All right, bye-bye.